Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for booking for our hands-on workshop on judging the smooth fox terrier. This presentation serves as your course material for the workshop, containing the knowledge element required for being able to competently judge the smooth fox terrier. So watch the video as many times as you want to prepare for the practical session on the 27th of November. In all cases, freehand sketches are used of both the correct images as well as those images that are not acceptable. The aim of this hands-on workshop is to provide learners with a methodology for judging the smooth fox terrier. The hallmarks of the breed are useful for memorizing the very basic requirements of the breed. During this video, I'm sure that you will identify and add a number of other points to your list. There are two minor points which need to be brought to your attention, and they are: the square outline is not mentioned in the breed standard, but if all other requirements are met, the dog will be square. That is, the height from the ground to the withers. From the ground to the withers equals the length of a line from the point of the shoulders to the point of the buttocks. So that is from the point of the shoulders to the point of the buttocks. Standing like a well-made short-back hunter, covering a lot of ground. If we take a line drawn horizontally from the inside of the front pastern to the inside of the hock, this should be longer than a horizontal line drawn from the withers to the point of the buttocks. On tiptoe of expectation, always ready for any adventure in a flash. Foreface moderately chiseled out, eyes as near as possible circular in shape, not ever round, that is Popeye. Ears small, V-shaped and dropping forward close to the cheek. The reason that white should predominate is that overmarked fox terriers were sometimes mistaken for the quarry by the fox or by overeager foxhounds and were accidentally killed. For the purpose of this workshop, I have chosen the world-renowned Nornay Saddler as my mental picture of an outstanding specimen who in the 1930s had, on retirement from the show ring, amassed a total of 56 all breeds best in shows over an 8-year period. On his last day of showing, there were over 3,800 exhibits on show. He was a legend in his day. I judge every smooth fox terrier using Nornay's silhouette. The content of this presentation has been arranged so as to cover a logical flow of the process of judging smooth fox terriers. This is a 5-point assessment plan, which in most cases is required to be completed within a 2.5-minute period, which is not much. Using our previously selected silhouette, we compare the exhibit with Nornay and perhaps using a grading from 1 to 10, with 1 being the least and 10 the most. Movement relates to the short distance from the ring entrance and the judge's assessment table. Examination on the table takes up the majority of the hands-on judging activities. Controlled movement relates to a pre-marked up away and back movement from judge to turning point and then returning to start point and finishing with a free stack with no baiting or touching of the exhibit allowed. Finally, having completed all 5 points of the assessments, the placement of the exhibit can now take place. So commencing with the first of the 5 points, we look at the first impressions on entering the ring. 1 or more exhibits enter the ring and proceed to the judge's table. During this short movement, the following needs to be assessed: How close is the exhibit to the silhouette previously selected? Is the top line stable whilst moving? Do legs and feet move straight forward? Does the exhibit have a gun barrel front? Was the exhibit moved on a loose lead, allowing freedom of movement? So let's have a look at stacking on the table. The photograph on the left-hand side on the slide shows a fox terrier which has unfortunately been strung up a little bit and overstretched. So you need to stand back a little bit, view the animal from a little bit of a distance away so that you can get an overall picture of the dog. Approach obliquely. It's a good idea to greet the handler before detailing the examination. This places the dog and the handler at ease. It's more like an icebreaker. Remember that you have only about 2.5 minutes per dog. Notice if there's any fiddling by the handler. Ask yourself, are they attempting to conceal faults? A good handler will know how to enhance the dog's good points as well. We begin the examination of the exhibit's ears. Here we have a selection of ears. For ease of reference, the correct ear set has been enclosed in the red rectangle. One of the most prevalent faults is the hound ears, which needs to be genetically corrected in the breeding system. Other faults are flying or semi-pricked ears, full prick ears, and tulip ears. And this must be the worst case scenario, which is the rose ear carriage, which has been typical of the so-called South African short-legged fox terrier, or the backyard breeder's delight. So we get to the assessment of the head, specifically the eyes. Some of these have already been mentioned in the hallmarks of the breed. The eyes must not be too far apart. They must not be too high, not too near to the ears. They must be looking forward and rather deep set. The position of the eyes divides the muzzle and the skull. The shape of the eye is as near circular as possible. The size of the eye needs to be a moderate size and in proportion to the head. The color of the eye should be dark, preferably hazel. Note that a number of hallmarks of the breed emanate from the description of the eyes and ears. Don't forget the teeth. On this slide, we come to the teeth. The photo shows a perfect scissor bite. This is exactly what we require. While you are there, check the chin at the end of the lower jaw, there where the judge in the photo is placing her bright red thumbnail. The diagram to the right shows the correct chin and is clearly indicated by the red rectangle. A receding chin or overdeveloped chin will be easy to spot and not desirable. So now you're stacked on the table, head side on. Judging from old photographs and paintings from the 1880s, the top winning dogs were depicted as having parallel planes for the skull and the muzzle. Although not specifically written into the standard, the head as depicted in the red rectangle is the head to strive for, but it is not in the breed standard. Our silhouette image would show the same parallel planes. The other diagrams show diverging planes. This is quite common but acceptable. The dished muzzle is not common at all, but also very undesirable. An animal with a Roman nose or nose stop is very undesirable. Now that the head examination is complete, let's look at the front angulation. It is important to look at where the toes point to when the dog comes to a natural stop, because they are indicators of major faults elsewhere. The example in the red rectangle is correct. The exhibit that presents with pigeon toes will also present with a longer back because the shoulder blade assembly has slipped forward and round towards the chest. It will also show signs of being out at the elbows. Conversely, dogs presenting with outward pointing toes, like for example French front, tied in elbows, cabriole front, will present with tied in elbows and a choppy rolling gait. Stacked on the table, neck side on. The neck is one of the gun barrel components and should be on the same vertical line, starting at the foot and ending up under the chin. Retrieve your silhouette image in your mind and see how it compares with your selection in front of you in the ring. An upright neck will appear to be short because the shoulder blade is more vertical. The back seems longer, and more often than not the exhibit will present with pigeon toes. It's all to do with the steepness of the shoulder. Stacked on the table, side-on angulation. Judges need to step away from the judging table to get the whole picture. How close is your exhibit to your silhouette image? Forequarter angulation and hindquarter angulation should complement each other. If the exhibit fits in a square, it follows that the angulation is correct. The two diagrams on the top right reflect a flat pelvis or a drooping crotch because the angles are too steep or too flat, being 20 or 40 degrees respectively. The bottom right diagram shows a sickle hock. The drive when moving is up and down instead of driving forwards. The diagrams enclosed in red rectangles are your correct diagrams. In this slide, you can really only select the exhibit displaying straight angulation. The diagram is outlined in a red rectangle. Hindquarter angulation is simple. If the dog stands 4 squares, that is the only choice to be made. Cowhocked and bandy will be very undesirable. A good tail set and carriage complements the entire picture. Good tail set, the tip of the tail is at the level of the top of the skull. Undocked tails are acceptable. If the tail lies completely over onto the back, it would be a fault, bearing in mind that when a fox terrier goes to ground, the tail was used as the handle to extract the dog from the underground. In the picture, notice the loose lead, almost perfect natural stack, just a little overstretched. Still on the table, but looking at the top view. In this slide, we still have the dog on the table, but looking down onto the top of the body. Look at the first diagram on the left in the red rectangle. Ensure that the shoulders are clean and not loaded like the second diagram from the left. The third diagram from the left shows a flat-sided exhibit where it appears that the ribs are not well sprung, unlike the diagram next to it in the red rectangle. It also appears to have a longer back or longer coupling. Controlled movement and what to look for. Once the table assessments are completed and the exhibits are now ready and preparing for the controlled movement, all exhibitors will be instructed to use a loose lead. When you get to the last portion of the 5-point plan, you will see that the ring area has been demarcated to take an away and back movement assessment with a clear marker to indicate the place to U-turn. This has been done to ensure that every exhibit has exactly the same assessment path. The plan is to send the exhibit away and back. Then you, the judge, will raise your hand to indicate that the exhibitor slows down and stops naturally in a free stack, not baiting and no touching the exhibit. Once the exhibit has come to a stop, the exhibit is sent around the ring back to the starting point. During that lap, you will assess back level. Is it stable? Is it level? Is there a good reach and drive? Do the hind feet almost exactly track the front feet? Do the feet and legs, front and rear, move straight forward? Are the front or rear legs toeing in or out when the exhibit comes to a natural stop? You can see from this photograph that the lead is far too tight and is lifting the front feet off the ground. This will spoil the animal's movement completely. Do not allow a tight lead. At this point, having considered all of the favorable points, it will be a relatively simple matter to place the exhibit in the appropriate position in the final lineup. If you have any questions, please make a note of them and keep them so that we can discuss them at a later stage. Thank you for attending and thank you for watching, and good luck with your judging the Smooth Fox Terrier in the future.